The concept of human behavior has been fervently explored and researched upon for decades. Many relevant theories have been proposed and supported by countless experts of the field, but the broader consensus affirms the significance of studying human behavior across diverse settings and domains. And it is this very fact that further confirms the crucial role played by the organizational behavior in a business organization. Organizational behavior essentially indicates how individuals or groups of individuals perform and interact within an organization. If you wish to know how to ensure or sustain your organization's progress through efficient organizational behavior, then you have knocked on the right door. In this video, we will discuss the various elements and levels of organizational behavior and understand how these affect business organizations. We will also take up the different models and objectives of organizational behavior. And by the end of the video, we will equip you with a proper idea of organizational behavior as well as its importance.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments. When you hear the term organizational behavior, the first thing that comes to your mind would be your behavior, demeanor, or attitude towards the employees and towards the organization. And that's exactly what it is. Organizational behavior is an essential part of people management in today's work culture. The synergy and behavior between your people will determine their efficiency. In-depth learning provides an understanding of how employees communicate with one another. Their compatibility is vital so that the work goes on without any uncertainties. Without your people's unity, it is difficult to achieve long-term success. So, in this course, we'll discuss why employee behavior is crucial for an excellent working culture and how does it affect the business. So, without any further delay, I'm Edwin Thomas and let's get started with the course on organizational behavior. So let's first understand what is the agenda or what are the kinds of topics that we are going to deal with in this course, right? So first up, we'll be understanding what is organizational behavior. Now, under this topic, we'll be understanding the definition of organizational behavior and what exactly does it mean, right? Then we'll move ahead with the importance of organizational behavior. Now, under this topic, we'll be pointing out what are the points that are like the advantages or the importance that organizational behavior has it on the business, right? So after understanding the importance, we'll then move ahead with the elements of organizational behavior. Now, under this topic, we'll be discussing four elements, that is people, structure, technology, and external environment. Now, we'll be discussing each of these elements individually and understand what are the importance of each element in organizational behavior, right? Then, moving ahead, we'll be discussing the levels of organizational behavior. Now, basically, organizational behavior is divided into three levels, that is the individual level, then we have the group level, and then we have the organizational level. So these three levels will also be discussed individually so that you can understand each level more clearly, right? Then moving ahead, we'll be discussing the types or the different models of organizational behavior. Now, while talking about the models, we'll first be digging out the past models that were used before industries or the corporates, and then we'll move ahead with the evolution of the models in organizational behavior, and then finally we'll be discussing the current model that is being used in the corporates. Then we'll understand and finally come to the last topic, wherein we'll be discussing about the objectives of organizational behavior. Now, everything has a current goal or a objective that needs to get fulfilled, right? So now organizational behavior also has the objective that businesses actually wants it to achieve. So here is where we'll be discussing what are the objectives of organizational behavior. So, with that, I believe you have understood the structure of our agenda, and let's not keep waiting, let's get started. So, let's get started with our first topic, that is a direct question: what is organizational behavior, right? Now, OB. Now, OB is an abbreviation that can be used for organizational behavior for easy use, right? Now, OB is the study of individual behavior in solitude, in groups, and also as a part of an organization. Now, OB is the study of individual behavior in solitude. What do you mean by solitude? So basically, solitude means solitary or in isolation. If a person, how does he react inside a company when he is isolated with other people or he's working alone? So that is where there is a study going on individual human behavior when he is in isolation. Then there is a study that's going on in groups. Now, when people come in front of you, act in a different way, you behave to them in a different way regarding to that person, right? So that's another study of human behavior that takes place in group. And as a part of an organization, how do people actually work? That is what OB is exactly for. So OB is a complete study of an individual behavior in solitude, in groups, and also as part of an organization. So I believe that you guys have understood the first line of the definition. Now, the analysis of individual behavior in isolation would be incomplete since it is influenced by people around us and the organization in which we work. Now, basically, if you had to study about a single person, it's not necessary that it should be studied when he is only isolated or when he is working alone. Because when people work together, they behave in a different way, and when people work in alone, they work in a different way, right? So the behavior changes with respect to people when they are working alone and when they are working in groups. So that's what is saying. Analysis of individual behavior in isolation would be incomplete since it is influenced by people, right? So I hope you have understood the second line as well. Moving on to the third line, that is, it would be pointless to study only individuals or organization. So basically, what is he saying that it's pointless to study people's behavior when they're working alone and when they're working with groups or only when they're working with as part of an organization. So all these three studies must be combined enough to understand what the human behavior is towards the organization, towards the group, and when he is working alone. So all this is a package that understands organizational behavior. Now, and that's what the last line says, it is critical to learn both at the same time. So basically, individual behavior in isolation and also in groups and organization is really, really important to understand how human behaves with respect to the organization, the groups, and individually. So that's what exactly is organizational behavior. So put it as simple as across, it is a study of human behavior in an organization when he's working alone, working in groups, and how does he treat the organization. So now coming to the second major topic, that is the importance of organizational behavior. Now you have understood what is organizational behavior, but in order to make you curious to learn about organizational behavior, you need to understand what is the importance of organizational behavior and how does it affect a business, right? So for that, I have pointed out a few good points that will help you understand what is the importance of organizational behavior. Now coming to the first point, that is good workplace relationship, right? Now, you need to understand it's very difficult or very hard to build a meaningful workplace relationship because there may be instances which could lead to conflict. There are situations that will lead to any fights. So, as a leader, you must be really, really cautious enough to avoid these situations. You need to find out the real issues in this hamper of the workplace relationship because I know that this is a really dispiriting job, but it is essential because it would actually create a lot of trouble and harm to the business. Now, the main objective of organizational behavior is to assist the employees, right? So basically, it should assist the leader who is managing the people. And on top of that, it must reduce the chances of conflicts and help in a smoother and a healthier workplace environment that would be less harmful to the employees. So that's the one major point or importance of having organizational behavior, that is keeping a good workplace relationship. So now coming to the second point, that is employee motivation. Now you might be wondering, like, how is even employee motivation coming into the picture while we are discussing about organizational behavior, right? So now you need to understand that employee motivation is a crucial element of employee engagement. Now, without motivation, it's almost not possible to increase the productivity. The lack of motivation is why your people aren't giving 100% effort on your job. And that's exactly where organizational behavior comes into play. Now, if you understand the people, the behavior of the people, and what kinds of issues they are facing during work, it will be more easy and you can quickly act upon these and help them improve their efficiency in their work. And there's where organizational behavior plays a crazy important role in helping the leaders to motivate their employees. And now I am sure that you guys have understood how organizational behavior comes into the picture for employee motivation, right? So understanding the employees' behavior will help you motivate them more effectively and thereby increasing the productivity of the work and efficiency of the business. Now, coming to the third point, that is builds a psychologically safe workplace. Now, organizational behavior helps leaders in understanding their influence on their employees. Now, if you're a leader, you may be managing a few people and you need to understand what kind of attitude are you showing to your employees, and there's where organization behavior helps you understand or draws a clear understanding of the psychology of the safe workplace. Now, this basically helps you build a good morale amongst your workplace, and a good example of a good organization must work. Now, when you have a psychologically safe workplace, there is a tendency the employees try to experiment with new ideas. That's basically as simple as when you have a clean and a fresh mind to work, you will always have new ideas popping into. And when you are really stressed and when new works pop into you, you feel like really irritated and stopping and working and going somewhere, right? So that's exactly what is coming in here also. So when there is a psychologically safe workplace, there will be new experimental ideas that comes into employees. Then there will be erasing the fear of being judged. So when your peers are very motivating and very friendly and very supportive towards your new ideas, the fear of getting judged is completely removed. And then there's a probability of enhancing your performance. So basically, when you have all these good vibes around you, that is a psychologically safe workplace around you, you will have new ideas, you will erase the fear of getting judged, and this will all entirely sum up in increasing and enhancing your performance. And this is why organizational behavior helps leaders to understand the issues that will actually alter the circumstances in creating a psychologically safe workplace, and that will actually aid him to create this kind of workplace. So that's why organization behavior is another importance for in a leader's role. Now, nature of employees. Now, achieving a long-term success is a difficult task, and maintaining consistency is even more challenging, right? Now, all this is possible only if your employees behave properly at your workplace. Now, the attitude of the employees towards your organization will reflect in the results of their work. Now, you need to understand that if your employees work passionately, there is definitely going to be results. And if there is a lack of passion in the employees in their efforts in doing their work, you need to understand or you need to find out what is wrong in their employees in putting their 100% effort. Now, this is where organizational behavior plays a crucial role. That is by it provides information of how people are interacting with each other. It gives a proper understanding of how people are communicating, how is the interaction between the employees happening. then what are the reasons behind the declining team unity? Now, there may be some conflicts in between the teams that would actually alter or hamper the relationship between the members of the teams, and this would obviously disrupt the team's unity and which should actually affect the efficiency of the work, right? And if an employees are worried about their job security, so that's how the nature of the employees is determined. Like if the employee is very happy or is at a very good mental health, that is feeling safe that this job is taking care of him as an employee as well. So these are the things that organizational behavior is going to help leaders to manage the people under them. So that's why organizational behavior is really helpful in understanding the human behavior and helping the leaders to understand how their employees is really feeling about their work they're doing, the attitude they're showing towards their work, and if they are not that passionate about their work, it will help the leaders understand that why aren't the employees putting 100% effort while doing their jobs. So that's why organizational behavior is another important point, that is nature of employees. Now, coming to the final point, that is higher efficiency in teams. Now, the study of behavior in an organization will help you in team collaboration. Now, it provides you insights on the similarities and the differences amongst the members of the team. Now, team with a good chemistry will collaborate effectively and produce better results, will help each other in during their difficult times and acknowledge each other's strengths and weaknesses. Now, all this actually builds, or in return, builds a good morale and provides more confidence to the people in achieving their goals. Now, as a leader, it is assisting the leader to achieve their long term goals that they had planned for. Now, with that, these all important points that are quoted down creates the importance of having organizational behavior in an organization. So now moving ahead with the next major topics, we have elements of organizational behavior. Now, on your screens, we have the four elements of organizational behavior that are people, structure, technology, and external environment, right? Now, when we are talking about the elements of organizational behavior, people comes in the topmost priority because it is the people who are the backbone of the organization. Now, people create the internal social system of an organization and they work in a systematic manner to achieve the goals. Right now, people may be individuals or groups, etc. Now, groups may be small, large, etc. But then, groups can form, they can change, they can dissolve. But at the end of the day, organizations are ready to serve the people, right? So now understanding the behavior of people can actually help a lot in assisting the leader in the situations that the people are facing into the new developments in the organization. So, while understanding the behavior of these people or the groups, the leader can take up necessary action so as to increase the efficiency of the work. So, that's why people are the most important element of the organizational behavior. So now coming to the second element of organizational behavior, we'll be talking about the structure. Now, everything in this world has a structure to it. Name it like your human body, your house, or even the slide presentation that you're looking into. We had a structure that was discussed in the beginning, right? So now structure is a very important part of an organization because it basically tells you the division of work, the roles and responsibilities of people inside an organization, right? Now, if you need to understand that in an organization, the employees are dependent on the management, and only then there is a coordination of work and there is a hierarchy of work. Now, if there is any shortcomings, it is on depending upon the structure, that is the flow of control of authority, that it determines that who is to be considered to responsible or accountable for that that particular job role, right? So there must be a proper, rigid, and robust structure to an organization. So finally, if there is no structure and things go unplanned, then there will be no particular way wherein the mistake or wherein the process which didn't go can be tracked upon. That's why a proper structure or a rigid structure or a robust structure must be created in an organization so as to track the mishappenings or the wrongdoings and to rectify it in the next forthcoming processes. So that's why structure plays a very important role in an organizational behavior. So next up we have technology. Now in the current scenario, a world without technology is next to impossible or it's very difficult. Now a technology is a boon and a bane. Now the primary purpose of technology is to get things done easier or faster, and also to bring up new ideas and technologies or solution to the existing methods or processes of production of any company or an organization. Now things get a bit difficult when the people inside the organization feel it very difficult or feel it very difficult to get accustomed to the new technology or the new technological changes that are coming into the organization. There is a lot of chaos in between the people amongst the organization. And due to this chaos, there are people who are very much unclear about their roles and responsibilities that they are getting assigned to the new technological machine tools and all the other tools which are required for the production or increasing the productivity. So, in this case, a lot of morale amongst the people in the organization is destroyed, and also the productivity is destroyed. And that's why technology is also said as a bane because it does not give the freedom to the people to work how they want, because the people needs to get accustomed to the new technological advancements that the organizations are bringing in. So that's why technology is another main element of organizational behavior. So now coming to the last element of organizational behavior, we have external environment or work environment. Now, the work environment influences the people to do the work, right? Now, there is a good connection between the work environment and organizational behavior. When one changes, the other one changes too. So basically, they both are directly proportional to each other. When you have to say it in the math form, right? Mathematics, you say directly proportional and inversely proportional, right? So now work environment and organizational behavior are directly proportional to each other. Now, as a leader, you need to understand that the work environment plays a crucial role in employee engagement. Now, as a leader, he needs to understand the differences in the people when there is a toxic work culture and when there is a positive, good work culture. Now, in a toxic work culture and healthy work culture, let's make a differences. Let's first start with toxic work culture. In a toxic work culture, it negatively impacts the thought process, and in a healthy work culture, it basically improves the morale and increases the confidence of the employees. In a toxic one, it actually diminishes the enthusiasm to work, and in healthy work culture, it provides positive energy to work. Now, in toxic one, it decreases the willingness to perform, and in the healthy work culture, it brings employee happiness. Now, see both the differences. When there is a positive work culture and a healthy work culture, the employees are happy, the employees are willing to give their 100% effort, and there is so much of positive vibes that they think of new ideas which would actually help the organization increase their efficiency. So that's why external environment or the work environment is a very important element of organizational behavior. So with that, we have covered all the four elements of organizational behavior. All right, amazing guys. So now we are moving ahead with the next major topic, that is levels of organizational behavior. Now, the levels of organizational behavior is divided into three. That is the individual level, the group level, and the organizational level. Now let's get started with the individual level. In the individual level, it includes all the individuals in the organization.
Now, each and every individual acts in a different way, and this may impact the group dynamics and also it impacts the organization as a whole. Now, assume a situation wherein all your employees are happy and they are efficient. Then the work environment is more productive and the efficacy of the group increases and the efficacy of the organization as a whole also increases. Now, consider a situation where the work environment is toxic and a lot of people are disgruntled and all the individuals are not in a happy situation. In this case, the enthusiasm to work and give their 100% reduces, right? Now, if you think about the company's perspective, it is impossible to study each and every employee's behavior in an organization, right? It's a very tedious and it's an unfeasible task, right? Now, instead of studying each and every individual's behavior individually, a company can set up a guideline and expectations that would attract certain employees which are having the certain kinds of behavior which is acceptable to the organization. Now, for example, the behavior of the employee can be tested in the hiring process itself. Now, the behavior can be understood with the answers that employee is trying to give to the behavioral based questions asked in the interview. With that, you can understand what kind of behavior this person or the employee trying to give into the organization, right? So now, as a organization, you can also influence the individual to be a better personality and to be of a good behavior in within the groups and the organization. And that's the individual level in an organizational behavior. All right. Now moving ahead with the second level, that is the group level. Now, the group level includes any group. Now, a group can be around 2 to 3 people, or 10 to 20 people, 50 to 60 people, or even hundreds of people inside a group. Right? Now, when we're talking about the group level, basically the concepts of team, the conflict, the leadership comes into play. Now, in the group level, mostly they discuss upon the how to work effectively and collaboratively inside the team, how to work to discuss how to increase the efficiency of the individual and also how the efficiency can work increase with when we are working in a group, right? Now, one thing that you have to keep in your mind is that an individual can affect a group and a group can affect an organization, right? Now, you need to think it in a reverse manner also. A group can also affect an individual and an organization can also affect group, right? So these three are interrelated or you can say connected through a spider web, right? So anything happens to each of them, at the end of the day, the organization is getting affected. So that is the second level of organizational behavior, that is the group level. So next up, we have the organizational level. Now, while we have to talk about the organization level, it basically deals with organization as a whole, right? Now, if you have to tell about the topics that get discussed in this level that are change management or the organizational culture, right? These are the kinds of topics that get discussed in this level. Also, in the organizational level, they discuss about the work environment and the culture of the people that they are building inside the organization. Now, if you haven't already got up the trend, the organization can impact an individual and can also impact a group. Now, the vice versa is that individual or that group behavior can also impact an organization. Now, I'm pretty much sure that you guys are very much clear about the three levels of organizational behavior and how can each of these levels impact the organization as a whole. All right, guys, awesome. So now we are going to discuss the next topic, that is the different types of organizational behavior models. So basically, we'll be first beginning from the history, the how the organizational behavior model originated, then we'll understand how it evolved, and then finally we'll be discussing the current model that is getting used, right? So then we'll also have a conclusion part wherein we'll understand which model is supposed to be the better one, and we'll understand using an analysis, we'll be discussing over all the models and which is the better one, right? So to start off with, we have the autocratic model. Now, the automatic model is used to be prominent back in 1800s and 1900s. So it has its roots from the historic past. Like these kind autocratic model was used in the past, wherein the owners and the managers had the authority and the power to take on decisions on the employees. So basically, in the second point, we can see it was kind of a dictatorship of command. So in those times, the managers and the owners used to dictate the commands over to the employees. So basically, the command was like, you do this or I will do this. So that is kind of a command that is coming from a dictator, right? So that was the condition that was in the back 1800s and 1900s, and the managers and the owners were into the notion of if you hire when you are having the skills, fire if you're not performing well, and then work hard to your goal. So that was their motive. So due to this notion or this perspective of their owners, some of the employees used to perform extremely well because of the pressure of feeding their families or losing their association with their boss, that is basically getting fired. But the overall, when you see the performance of all the employees, it's used to be very, very less because of the pressure of the security of the job, whether they will lose their job, whether they will have their job the next day. So these are the kinds of psychological factors that the employees were facing in those times. So that's what exactly is all about autocratic model. All right, so let's move ahead with the second model, that is the custodial model of organizational behavior. Now, here is one the change in managers' perception of employees came in. That is, basically, the managers started to study the needs of the employees, and then and there is where they understood the setbacks of the autocratic model. Now, they understood that as managers, they weren't allowing the employees to talk back to them in the autocratic model. So basically, the employees had a lot to talk back to the managers, but due to this model, they weren't able to do so, and that created a lot of frustration, insecurity, and aggressive attitude or behavior towards their families or the neighbors, and that was creating a lot of toxic culture amongst the community. And this in turn was actually affecting their performance in their job. Now, what custodial model did to these kinds of issues is that it basically focused on employee security, employee satisfaction, and the successful of the custodial model begins. The main motive was regarding the employee security, the job security that the employees have regarding their jobs, whether that was there in the autocratic model. The autocratic model basically dealt with fire, hire, fire, and perspire. So there is always a fear of losing the job, but in custodial model, they company or the organizations basically made the employees feel that you will be taken good care from the company side, and they also ensured this by providing employee satisfaction by giving incentives, highly good paid salaries, remunerations. They also gave corporate car allowances, healthcare, and a lot of other incentives like early retirement incentives for the case. So these are the kinds of things that custodial model brought into the organizational behavior and which led to the success of this model. But one thing that always a question is whether this model will pertain towards the future goals, right? So now moving ahead with the third model of organization behavior, we are going to discuss about the supportive model. Now, in supportive model, unlike the two models that were discussed before, that is the autocratic model and the custodial model, here there is a good, motivating, and aspiring leader. And there is no space for anything like the power or authority lying in one hand, or any kinds of reward schemes or incentive that is getting to the employees. It is completely based on motivating the staff and creating a good relationship between the superiors and the co-workers, right? So basically, the second point that states the contradicts the autocratic model to a great extent. Yes, the supportive model largely contradicts the autocratic model. In the first point itself, we said we had a motivating and an aspiring leader, and then in autocratic model, they said that an employee is supposed to be self-motivated. But how does we expect an employee to be self-motivated? It is only by creating a positive culture amongst the people, right? So how do we create a positive culture is by motivating and encouraging the employees around in groups as individuals, and there is where the leader comes into play as a motivating and an aspiring leader, right? So that's where we contradict the autocratic model. And then coming to the understanding group dynamism. So basically here we need to understand that in supportive model, the employee is not to be considered as a tool. He should be considered as an employee and he could be used in very different ways. And each and every employee can affect the social environment of group, right? So that's how understanding group dynamisms helps in the supportive model, and that's how the supportive model frames or sums it up to become one of the good organizational behavior models. All right, guys. So now moving ahead with the next model, that is the collegial model. Now, in the collegial model, there is no boss, no subordinates, only colleagues, and all of them work together as a team to achieve the company's goal, right? Now, you need to understand that there is no bosses or no supervisors that anyone have to call. So, madam, it's all they all call it in their names. So that's why there is no boss, no subordinates, it's just colleagues. And this model is considered to be as an extension of the supportive model. Now, why is it said that it is an extension of supportive model is that because in the supportive model we said that we have an aspiring and a motivating leader, and that's exactly what we also have in collegial model. The manager as a boss, but he acts as a coach that guides the team towards achieving the goal faster and more improvised way, right? So that's how the manager plays a role of a coach in guiding the team, and that's why it is known as a supportive model because the manager motivates the team and helps in increasing the efficiency of the team. Now, coming to the third point, that is no one is worried about the job title and no specific preferences or reservations for executive. Now, when you look back into the times where there were reservations for car parking for the big managers or the top CEOs or anything something like who are having a director kind of roles. So these kind of people have a reserved car spots or parking spots in the offices. Now in this model, in the collegial model, there is no such thing like called as reservation or any specific preferences. They all are considered equal and there is no worry of the job title that people have to look into because they are all happy with the job titles. They work together in a team and to achieve a single goal, that is to help the organization help achieve its goal. So now that we have discussed a lot of models in organizational behavior, now we are going to discuss about a model that is considered as the top emerging model of today's era. And this model is known as the system model. Now, this is considered as a top emerging model because of the new trends and needs that the employees have brought up, and those kinds of additions are done to the previous existing models. And that's why the new model is known as the system model. Now, to understand the psychologies of the employees working in an organization, today's employees need more job security, they need more value and meaning, and also they require a community feeling. So basically, today's employees are actually asking for a good amount of salary, they require good job security, and they want some value and meaning for the amount of hours they are working for that organization to make progress. So that's what their aim is. Now, another thing that employees would actually want to have is a community feeling. When there is a happy community, there is always a positive culture amongst the organization. So these are the requirements of the employees of today's era. Now, coming to the managers. Now, managers, it's not always getting things done on time, getting the people or subordinates, making them work efficiently and getting things on time. It's not always about getting things done on the deadlines. It's also that as managers, they will have to show their emotional side towards to their subordinates. They'll have to build this trustworthiness. They have to bring the hopes up of the employees. They need to understand or make them understand what are the vision and the mission of the organization, and how are we as a team pursuing it, and how what are the jobs that are actually impacting people. So these are the things that a manager should emotionally connect with their team, so that there is a family kind of feeling. Now, when something happens to your very close family relative, god forbid, but then you will actually help them a lot to get out that phase of a life, right? You need to understand that as employees, they would also love to have a family feeling inside their corporate worlds, right? So that is something that as managers need to emotionally connect with their employees, their subordinates, or their teams that they are monitoring. Now, what another thing that employees require is that they need to give them time and attention to build a positive work culture. As you get into a new company, and when you start working, you need to give them some time, and you need to give some attention towards them, so that their growth is also being seen. So need to give them some space. As manager, you will have to guide them, you will have to give some attention and time towards the development of the new hire, so that there is a good positive culture that is building upon themselves. So now that we have discussed all the models in organizational behavior that is currently followed as well, let's understand give a conclusion to these models. Now, to be frank, no model is 100% perfect. Right from autocratic model, then the custodial, then the collegial, then we had the support, then the system, all had its own pros and cons in it. So the basically the study of human behavior is vast, and every human being is unique, and each and every generation of human beings are unique in their own different ways, right? So the study of human behavior is going to be a research that is going to be for long, and each and every era or new generation comes in, there will be a new model that will be going to be supporting the organizations to be more efficient, right? Now, see, as the point that I was going to say, each model has evolved in different ways. That is from the autocratic model, then till the system model. The model, each and every model has been evolving in different ways, wherein the managers understood the drawbacks or the setbacks of the previous model, and then they came up with the new model, and then they got accustomed to it. And then now the current model is the system model, which has been followed in the almost all organization and corporates. Now, the last thing that point that we are going to discuss is, with time, the evolution of these models are necessary for the efficiency of healthy work culture of organization. That's a 100% true point. That's because the as on the people in the next generation comes in, the different models are going to come in, because people are going to react differently because of the new technological advancements and the way the corporates are going to work. There are definitely going to be new models that are going to be helping organizational behavior. So that's what giving a good conclusion about the all the models being discussed here. All right, guys, superb. So now we have reached the last major topic that we will be discussing in this course, that is the objectives of the organizational behavior. Now, these are the following points that are quoted on the screen are the objectives of organizational behavior. Now, the first point is job satisfaction. Each and every employee who is working in the corporates or who is working for his livelihood wants job satisfaction, and that's exactly where organizational behavior comes into play, because the behavior of organization or behavior of the employee in an organization is going to make the managers feel that if he is actually satisfied with the job, is he doing properly, is he performing well. So that's the thing about one of the objectives. Then is coming about finding the right people. Now, the hiring process is a pretty confusing process. It's a risk that a company is putting on a person. Now, organizational behavior is what actually makes them or gives them added advantage because it helps the organization understand whether the particular hire is actually performing well and is subjected to the are and is easily blending to the culture of the organization. So that's another objective that organizational behavior tends to clarify. Now, coming to the third point, that is organizational culture. Now, one of the major objectives of organizational behavior is to carry forward a good organizational culture, having a good positive energy amongst all the working employees in an organization. Because only when you have a positive working culture, there will be a enthusiasm to work, and then only your employees are going to put in 100% effort on each and every work they are assigned to, and only then the organization will have a good efficiency and a good name and a brand name to the view of the other people around, right? Next, we have leadership and conflict resolution. Now, when you have to talk about the objectives in the organization behavior, leadership and conflict resolution is always in the picture, because leadership, as a manager, you will have to look after the team, you will have to guide the team into a good position. You have to increase the last year to a level where they will have to grow so that the organization's goals can be achieved even faster. Now, in between all these, there might be some conflict situation amongst the team members or any other teams amongst the group members, right? So all these should be avoided, and that's where the organization behavior comes into picture, because as managers, when there is a conflict situation happening in between the situation or in between the groups, the behavior of the people amongst the team members changes, and that actually helps the manager understand that the things aren't going in the right way, and that we'll have to catch the roots and clear out the circumstances of this conflict, right? So that's where another objective is getting clear, that is leadership and conflict resolution by organizational behavior. Now, coming to the next point, that is understanding the employees better. That is basically backing up the conflict resolution point. That is, if you understand the employees better, if you understand the behavior of the employee, you're definitely going to understand that when an employee is happy, when an employee is not performing at his very best, when an employee is feeling dull. So you need to understand your employee, and organization behavior does exactly that. It helps us to understand an employee to a great extent, and makes, as a manager, it assists the manager to actually help the employee who is a little bit dull on the days, and to go there and help him and emotionally connect to him, and then motivate him to do and perform to its very best, right? Now, another major objective that organizational behavior does to an organization is to develop good leaders. So basically, if you have good leaders in your organization, your teams will be working perfectly well. There will be a good positive culture amongst the team, and your leaders, when they have good mutual understanding with their subordinates, with their colleagues, with their upper hierarchy, and their also lower hierarchy, there is going to be a really smooth functioning of the organization. Now, organizational behavior basically makes you understand whether the leader is also performing at his very best. If he is not able to express his point of view to his subordinates, then work is not going to move on, right? So, organization behavior in this case makes it easier for an upper hierarchy to understand whether the leaders are performing very well. So, that's how a mutual understanding between the leaders would actually create a good help in understanding their issues and emotionally getting connected and making things all right between the leaders. So, this is how organizational behavior actually helps in understanding how to develop good leaders. Now, coming toward developing a good team. To sum it all up, development of a good team is one of the, like, it's most important objective of the organizational behavior, because until and unless you have a performing team, unless you until have you have a efficient team, until and unless you have a very good, positively energized team, the companies or the organization wouldn't function as smooth as you can see in the corporates right now. There is always a need of a good team that will have to always push the limits of or encourage each other, acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of each other so as to get the very best out every individual. And this culture of motivating and encouraging and acknowledging the strengths and weaknesses of the team is the development of the good team. And organizational behavior exactly helps in pointing out how the team is developing and how the team is progressing towards achieving the organization's goal. Now, coming to the last part, that is higher productivity. Organizational behavior, trying to understand whether there is a positive culture in the organization, having a happy relationship with the teams and the manager, are the leaders performing well. All these are going to sum up and increase the productivity of the organization. So, the higher productivity is automatically be getting into the objectives of organizational behavior. So, now with that, we have covered almost all the objectives that organizational behavior is proving to us. All right, amazing guys. So if you guys have reached the summary part of this course, give a pat on your back. So in this section, we are going to discuss briefly what are the topics that were discussed in this course entirely, right? So to start off with, we started our discussion with our first major topic, that is what is organizational behavior. So, under this topic, we discussed the definition of organizational behavior. We broke down the definition into separate lines and understood what exactly does organizational behavior mean to an organization. Then we moved ahead with the second major topic where we discussed the importance of organization behavior. So basically, we discussed how organizational behavior is actually affecting the organization for a smooth running of the business, right? So after that, we moved ahead with the elements of organizational behavior, where we discussed the four major elements, that is people, structure, technology, and external environment, that are playing a crucial elements in building an organizational behavior. Then we moved ahead with the levels of organizational behavior, wherein we understood that the levels of organizational behavior are subdivided into three, that is the individual level, the group level, and the organizational level, right? Then we moved ahead with the most interesting part where we understood the different types of organizational behavior models. So basically, discussed five models. We understood how each model evolved from the setbacks or the drawbacks from the previous models, and then we concluded the part by saying that no model is 100% perfect, and the evolution of model will be taking place in the future because of the human behavior is going to develop more and more, and each and every human is unique in different ways, right? So we finally concluded that topic by saying that no model is 100% perfect. Then finally, we came to our final topic, that is the objectives of organizational behavior, where we discussed the objectives of organizational behavior, where we understood what kinds of objective does OB help organization to fulfill. So with that, I believe you guys were enjoying this course along with me. I am Edwin Thomas. I'll be seeing you with another course very soon.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.